Listen, we're going to talk about a lot of stats on this episode and how we're a bunch of big
How we're a bunch
losers
of
and
big
we should never have
losers and
hope.
we should never have hope.
But
But
I will say
I will say,
there's one stat that I have to put my hand up and apologize to the Pitt community at large. The last 2 weeks, I have made something in my slow cooker, both Saturdays. I even tried this week to make something different. Pitt is now 0-2 on slow cooker Saturdays. And moving forward, I will not be putting anything in the slow cooker for the vibes to change up, because obviously this is my fault. I have cursed this team with my culinary decisions, and I'd just like to start off the episode with an apology on that front.
I don't know if it's a slow cooker or the time slot that we're playing in. As you hinted off air here, Zach, you have some stats for that as well. But yeah, once is a fluke, two times is a trend, and Pitt's not trending in good directions right now.
Yeah, so yeah, you get to it. We'll talk about this. You might have seen this if you follow us on Twitter at SimplifyPod. Kent, you might know this, but Mason doesn't. Mason, do you know Pitt's record since joining the ACC? So since 2013, in the 8 o'clock time slot. This is regardless of network. Any network on the 8 o'clock time slot.
Can you give me a hint and tell me like how many total games have we played at 8 o'clock? And then I'll guess wins and losses.
14 games.
Okay, see that's actually less than I would have thought. We had one in Syracuse on Thursday.
No. That was a 7 o'clock. It was 7:30.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Because the usual time slot is like 7 or 7:30. 8 o'clock is that weird time slot. And I'm gonna say this out here. It's the worst fucking time slot of any game. Like, give me a noon game over this, because if you lose on the 8 o'clock time slot, you go to bed angry and wake up mad. Like, overall, it is horrible. The game is too fucking late. And then if you lose, it ruins your whole next day. Like, I had to get my mind off the game. I went to the gym before noon. I cleaned my entire apartment, did all my laundry. Like, I was the most productive person on earth because I had to distract myself from the loss. Sorry. Back to your guess. 14 games. What's the record? 4-10?
4-10.
You got a spot on. We were 4-10 in 8 o'clock games since 2013. 1-7 in the last 3 years. The only win coming against Miami at the end of the 2022 season against a team that was fucking checked out. So, those losses include the 3 horrible losses in the middle of the 2022 schedule, those being, excuse me, Georgia Tech, Louisville, and UNC. In 2023, I believe the VTech and the UNC games were both 8 o'clocks. And then, obviously, this year, SMU and Virginia, both 8 o'clock time slots. So, what I'm proposing is the next time that Pitt is put in the 8 o'clock time slot, us 3 will be leading a January 6th style event on their headquarters in North Carolina, because this is not acceptable and they are setting us up to fail.
Can they just make it an 8:05 kickoff? I think that would fix it. Put us in a night slot, but make it just a 5-minute later kickoff, just to get the stink off of us.
First down, goes to the sidelines, has a man wide open.
Reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell 3. We're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin. Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
That was a pretty long intro. What's up? This is going to be a sad episode. Y'all know it. Welcome back to the Simplified Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Mason Kling, who you've been hearing all on this intro, the cold open, and Kent Vanderwood. And just to say, if you want to listen to an episode that's about a good team, it's got good vibes, go listen to the episode we put out on Friday. That's myself and friend of the show, James Santelli, talking about the number one Pitt volleyball team. However, we're not talking about that team tonight. We are talking about 7-2 Pitt football. Mason, how are we doing tonight?
Better. I've been better. If I didn't have Pitt basketball to look forward to tonight, I'd probably be in much of a worse mood. But I at least have that going for me. But Saturday pretty much stunk.
Kent, how about you?
Horrible. We have gone from the moon to the dirt in 2 weeks. It's tough to swallow how bad this team has really looked. So yeah, here we are.
I think it's like this one honestly hurts more than SMU because we lost to a good team when we played SMU, and it was just really tough to watch this past weekend.
I think the difference between this game and SMU is the fact that with the SMU game, we got boat race from the start. Like there was just no hope, like really even coming at halftime. This one we're down 5, driving with the ball, with a chance to win it, and the team folded. All right, yeah. We had some audio troubles there, but let's break down the game. Pitt loses at home 24-19 to Virginia in a weird and bad game. This game had 4 total picks, 2 from each team, a blocked kick, a really bad punt from Virginia. Like this was just a messy game, really on all sides. Where do we want to go first with this one? Because my first
Do you
thought
want
is
to get
that
right into the ref debacle, or
In terms of the refs, I saw a lot of people complaining about this, rightfully so. Obviously, we'll get into the details of it for those 2 listeners who may not have seen that. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't come down to something like that. This is a terrible team. They had lost 3 straight coming into this game. We had every how do I even put this? I don't want to say expectation, but we should have beat the brakes off this team if we played anything like we had looked the first 5 games of the season. And instead, pretty much trail the entire game. Did we trail the entire game? We did, right?
no, we had a lead for a short amount of time.
Well, regardless, bottom line, we had a lot of talent. We have a lot of talent, and we have just looked abysmal, and it shouldn't come down to the refs making some phantom call that you'll probably never see again on a football field.
Yeah. I mean, let's just get out of the way here, just because we're already on the topic. Clearly, it was the wrong call. It should have been a snap infraction. It should have gotten 5 yards on the play, and it should have been 4th and 6. That would have saved approximately 4 minutes off the clock at the end of the game. But like Kent said, you never want to be in a situation where you're blaming on the refs when you're coming down from behind. Like, they never should have been in this position. The offense was, as it has been the last 4 games, lethargic, couldn't get moving, couldn't get anything going. And honestly, it comes down to the offense at this point. When you hold a team to 24 points and you have the skill talent you do on offense, you should win that game probably 99 times out of 100. And this is one where, because the offense was just a no-show, and then you had huge momentum swinging plays like that block kick to start third early in the third quarter. Yeah, it comes down to a bad call by the refs, but that was not the deciding factor in the game. I think the deciding factor in the game was the fact that the offense fucking sucked.
For sure, I agree with you guys 100%. It's just like the most frustrating thing in the world, where not very often do you get a stop like that on 4th and 1, and it couldn't come at a better time when we needed like a momentum flipping play. And like you said, probably even should have been a penalty too. And yeah, it just, I don't know. Who knows if we would have even won that game if that call happens. Like we said, the offense didn't look great, and we might not have drove down the field. But it's just a frustrating kind of cherry on top to an already very frustrating game.
Yeah, so I guess let's split the offense into the first and second halves, and we'll say before and after the Eli injury. I think that's a pretty fair way to assess the game because, playing with your backup quarterback is always going to give you a level of difficulty that you're not going to have playing with your starter who's been with the ones all week in practice. But so Eli's first half, clearly something is wrong. I mean, so I'll back up. I think something is wrong with Eli. I think he is hurt in some sort of way. But the fact that this offense can't go really revolves around the fact that the O-line has not been playing well since, really they've been the weakness of this team all season, but especially since the Cal game when Branson Taylor goes down and he's out for the year, the starting left tackle, they have been markedly worse. And we had noted on this when we won against West Virginia that the O-line was not playing well in the second half, and Eli won that game with his legs. Now, with the O-line, they cannot run the ball with any consistency to really even save their lives. And no quarterback on the roster trusts them to keep a pocket open for more than 1 or 2 seconds. And it all kind of spirals from there, feeds into itself. When you can't run the ball, it really hampers your play calling abilities. It makes you a lot more predictable, and it allows defenses. And this is something that I've noticed since the Cal game. I think Justin Wilcox and his defensive staff put out a pretty good blueprint on how to stop this offense is when they're getting pressure with 4 and dropping 7 back, there's nowhere to throw the ball. That is the major problem. When you cannot run the ball and you cannot keep your quarterback upright, granted, that's the whole fucking thing when you're trying to play offense, but I don't want to say it's been solved because there were some wide open plays. Bad case of the drops in this game, but overall, I think the offensive struggles of the last 4 weeks start with the O-line.
Yeah, they've looked really bad. I agree with you to a certain extent here. They clearly were not giving the quarterbacks much time at all. Like you said, couldn't really run the ball either. Des Reed ends with 16 carries for 80 yards, which is actually better than I thought coming out of that game, honestly. But even when it seemed like Eli had time, he was just missing throws that he was making with ease earlier in the season. Clearly something is just wrong. There were throws early in the season that you were like, how does a freshman make that throw? And then you watch him in the first half of this game and you're like, how is this guy starting for a Division I Power 5, Power 4 team? At times, it's kind of night and day with the way that Eli is playing. And then right before he gets hurt, I think we were already trailing. Were we trailing when he got hurt? Was it 14, 13?
One score. We were down 6, I think.
Okay. Well, Kanate Munfield is wide open on the seam for what would have been an 84-yard touchdown. There's no safeties. Everybody's way off to the side, and he's wide open. Eli throws it about 3 yards short in the dirt with time. He didn't have pressure in his face, just missed that throw. And that's a throw he would have made 10 times out of 10, given Pitt the lead. Or I want to say Pitt was up 13-7 at that point, if I'm not mistaken. So it would have really given us a 2-score lead.
Yeah.
It would have given us a 2-score lead, and then we, that might be a completely different ball game from there. And then the next play, he misses Munfield again. Munfield hits his head. Munfield comes out, and then Eli gets hurt shortly after. yeah, that's just sort of my takeaways from the Eli part of the game, I would say.
The drops you mentioned, Zach, that was tough because the quarterback play was very lackluster. Um, and then when we did get a decent throw, receivers weren't being any help, which is always tough to, even when Yarnell comes in to get a little bit of rhythm and some momentum, and then your receivers dropping passes doesn't help with that at all. Like, definitely felt not being able to run the ball, but pass protection was better than the lack of running. Like, I think we can still put some blame on the quarterback play here. I think
Oh no,
I
for
think we
sure.
need to differentiate between the offensive line playing good enough to allow for success, and I think they probably did this game. Like, is it good? No, but was it good enough that we should have had an opportunity to beat Virginia? Yes.
Yeah, I'll say that I think that the O line's like the root of a lot of problems, and that's not to say the entire game is on them. I think it just starts with their struggles. Like I think they're on their third or fourth different combination of starters this year. But yeah, I mean they were inconsistent at best, and when they did have time, then they did give the quarterbacks time to throw. Like you said, either something else went wrong, where the quarterback makes a bad throw, or the receiver drops a pass that would have gotten the first down. I think we dropped like three or four, like just really ill-timed drops, I would say. Um, I'm trying to see if they publish a number on it, but I can't seem to find it.
I remember specifically beginning of the game. We also started the game with about 6 penalties.
Yeah,
We were moving backwards on offense to our first 2 possessions. Just really a horrible start. But there was, I think, a third down on that Eli makes a good throw to Poppy Williams, hits him right in the hands, and he drops it when they really needed him to make that play. That's just one that stood out in my mind. That was, just early in the game. Clearly did not come out to play. And I think when I saw that drop, that was when I was like, all right, this is gonna be a long game. They may not win this game.
there was also another. I think it was early with a Gavin Bartholomew drop. He was wide open, and he just did not come down with it for whatever reason. And it just kind of you're right. The penalties and the drops early just set the tone for another bad night of offense. And Desmond Reed, did his fucking best to try and nip it in the bud. He had 2 really explosive plays, one on the ground, one through the air. Like that insane catch he made while he's spinning and then gets a 20-yard, a 30-yard pass out of it anyway was awesome. He's still an awesome player. But two big plays do not make an offense. And then, like we alluded to earlier, Eli gets hurt. What would seem to be his second, what I would assume to be his second head injury in 3 weeks. I think that he probably had something in that Syracuse game. He might have been able to go, but they erred on the side of caution. He clearly could not get back into this one. And Nate comes in off the bench. And like we said, we're down our QB1. And then, like Kent mentioned earlier, we're down our wide receiver 1 with Kanate. I don't believe he came back into the game, did he?
Not that I saw.
I don't think he did either. But so you're down QB1, wide receiver 1. You're also down left tackle 1 with Branson Taylor being out for the year. And the results were not good, to say the least. Nate did not have a lot of time in the pocket. He does not have Eli's mobility to try and offset a collapsing pocket. He did have a very nice first down run at the end of the game where I thought he was going to do it. He dived for that first down, but Nate threw 2 horrendous picks in this game. I think that's just sort of the storyline for the second half quarterback play. And I mean, starting with the first one, I think I see why he threw it. Poppy was realistically open on that throw. If it's a laser and not a lollipop, that was just a bad throw by Nate. However, that kind of gets to something I've been thinking about. I love Poppy Williams, but I don't know if he should be your deep threat guy. I know he's fast, but he is like 150 pounds and not that tall. So I don't know if I love the personnel in that play, even if it was just a bad throw. I think a better throw gets that ball down there, probably goes in for a touchdown. But the second one, that one was tough to swallow. Pitt is driving down the field inconsistently, but they are moving the ball. Down 5. I believe it was on 3rd and 10. I'm going to double check that real quick. No, it was on a 2nd and 10 from the Virginia 47. Nate takes a deep shot once again to Poppy Williams. He throws it into what seemed to be quadruple coverage. Game over. There was a minute 42 left on the clock. They had a lot of time. They had 2 timeouts. I think that Narduzzi used his timeouts very well in the second half. Used the 2-minute timeout to his advantage, and you had a chance to go win the game. And listen, I know it's your backup quarterback. I know that, hand up, I was stumping for him all off season. I guess that's what I get for believing.
Dude, they were 2 really bad picks. The first one, literally on Nate's first throw, was the first deep ball interception, right as he comes in. So I don't know if he's just trying to really just be like, all right, this should have been my job from the beginning. I'm going to throw a deep ball touchdown right here on my first play. If that was the thinking, or if he just really thought he was open, or what. I haven't gone back and looked at it like you did. You said it was there if he made a good throw, but yeah, there was so much air under this ball. Seemed like an easy interception for the safety. So yeah, disgusting there. And then I believe we were up 13-7 because then they scored pretty much shortly. He had a pretty good return on it. They scored shortly after. So then we're down 14-13.
No. We were down 14-13 because that was the first play after the blocked field goal. So they had already taken some momentum at that point. And then the first play after that was the deep pick and the huge return to set them up on a short field. I think they got the ball on like R20 with that. It was nasty. It was really nasty.
All right. I had that wrong.
I mean, I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I had that wrong, I guess. But yeah, the second one was definitely worse. Just absolutely zero reason to do that. Like you mentioned, a lot of time on the clock. I was thinking, it was only 2nd down, so I was surprised when he thought it was 3rd. But yeah, definitely, there's just absolutely no need in that situation to throw it deep for multiple reasons. Because it's like, bro, you don't even want to score fast because then you're down 5. Even if you get the 2-point conversion, you're up 3, and you're giving the other team a lot of time to bring the ball back and tie the game or win. So, you want to use clock in that drive anyways. There's just no need. Yeah, you said there's triple cover down there. Just an all-out horrible decision by Nate on the second one.
First time, that was the first drive too where there was any continuity and any semblance of a drive. Like you said, Zach. I don't think it was pretty, but they did score earlier. But
the previous drive was an 80-yard drive. Gavin's first touchdown of the year. That's probably one of the only positives out of the game is that Gavin got his first touchdown of the year. Another Kyle Lewis pick, but
But it just felt like all right, we found our stride. We know what we have to do to win this game, and then we just started mashing buttons on the controller and threw it deep. That's what it felt like watching. Like when you're playing with your little brother on Madden, and he's just like, "Oh fuck, throw it down there."
Yeah, those are the kinds of reads you make in Madden. And you're like, all right, I gotta quit. I gotta log off, and I gotta clear my head because it was And I think coming off that long touchdown drive, it was a 12 play, 86-yard drive, ended in Gavin's first touchdown of the year, where I was like, okay, we are only down 2. I mean, listen, the first 2-point conversion, it sucks that it didn't go. The second one from your own 15, whatever. You're down 2. Virginia goes on that 8-minute drive, but you hold them to a field goal, which was huge. It felt like it wasn't pretty, but we were already on their side of the 50. And like Kent said, that is just, not only was it just a bad throw, it was the wrong throw to make in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
This is when you have to milk the clock because your defense has just been on the field for 8 minutes. Even if that went, I'm pretty sure the defense is so gassed that there's a good chance they just let them win the game in regulation. You know what I mean? And, to a certain extent, it's like, it's the backup quarterback. When you're down left tackle, quarterback, and top receiver, you don't win many of those games. But this one hurt a little bit more because even though we're in that situation, we still could have won this game. And it only hurts more knowing that, earlier in the day, Miami lost. As of like 3:30, Pitt was in control of their own destiny going to the ACC title game. Now they no longer are. They would have to win out and then get some help, and then even then it's probably a fucked and convoluted path.
Yeah, that's the other thing that hurts because it was like we were celebrating earlier in the day that Miami had finally lost. They were due. We kept saying it. They lose one. Pitt ends up not completely controlling their destiny, but essentially controlling their destiny again to the ACC championship. I guess that's just based off of opponent win percentage in the ACC.
No, I mean, if Pitt would have won out, they would have held the tiebreaker over Miami, even if Miami wins out. Like, straight up, they control their destiny at 8 o'clock last night. Now they don't. Or Saturday night, whatever.
Yeah, all right. Well, I saw the tweet that it kind of depended on what other people did a little bit in terms of conference win percentages, but regardless, they essentially controlled their destiny. Yeah, so that makes it hurt even more, obviously. And pretty much a lot of the excitement for Clemson coming into town has been downgraded, I would say.
Yeah.
Potential ranked matchup. I assume when rankings come out tomorrow that we will no longer be in the top 25. So game next weekend loses a little bit of its luster. It's this was a trap game. It was a trap game from the jump, and we took the cheese, baby. We fell right into it.
Maybe there's a chance we're like the 24th or 25th team in the CFP rankings because we are 7-2. I wouldn't be shocked if we're left out. We're out of the AP top 25. But I mean, listen, I'm still going to the game. I'm still going to go there to support the team. It's senior night or senior day. It is a huge day for all the seniors on this team who've put 4 years in. This just would have been a nice one to have, especially because, unlike SMU, there was a realistic shot to winning this game with a backup quarterback. Sorry for interrupting you, Kent. Go ahead.
No, you're good. It just is also it blows your mind because it's if we had played Virginia week 4, we win this game by 30 points. So just to see how far this team has just fallen in their play it's tough. They looked so good for a good portion of the season, and to now it's just some of this football has been hard to watch the last couple of weeks, dude.
Part of it scares me a little bit because I'm like, did they figure Cade Bell out? Now that he's got 9 weeks or what at this point it would have been 8 weeks of film. Did they just figure Eli
I
and Cade Bell out?
see. I don't think so because I don't think they figured it out. I think that the SMU game, they just beat them up front all night. There was no getting off the ground with the offense. The run, I think the biggest part is that the run game's not going because if they're only passing, like I said, you can just kind of drop 7 back, and that's going to beat a passing heavy attack pretty much most times. But we talked about this earlier. Like there were times where receivers were open and they just got missed, and there were times where wide open receivers had a good ball thrown their way, and the ball was dropped. I do not think that this is a indictment on the Cade Bell offense. I do worry about his coaching ability now that he's down some players and they have not overcome struggles on the O line, which are hard to overcome. But this was a gut check game for Cade Bell in terms of like not his system, but how he responded. He obviously did not pass the gut check. I will say, if any fans out there are sort of afraid of this system being figured out, I don't think that's the case. There were enough open players. There were enough open players on downfield routes last night. It's just that pretty much every time a different position group fucked up the play.
We beat UNC by 10 points. UNC beat Virginia by 27 points. And we just lost to Virginia. So, just another fun fact.
College football is funny like that, huh?
I don't know if I'd call it funny. It's painful like that.
God. Yeah. Yeah, you just got to laugh it off, though.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I don't know if I have anything else to say on this game. We can talk a little bit about Clemson here. Clemson is not the best team you want to have coming up for a get-right game, especially with a question mark about who's going to be starting at quarterback. Listen, I don't think that Clemson is really that good this year. They got manhandled by Louisville. They did not look great against Virginia Tech. I watched that whole game for some reason. But
that is one thing that's good about losing to Virginia is like we're now kind of desperate for a win. Clemson didn't look great, but got their win. If you like factor that in at all, if Clemson would have somehow lost to Virginia Tech like it was looking they were kind of messing with for a little bit, I would have felt way worse going into this week. Now, I would have still liked to go in with a win against Virginia, but Clemson's probably not going to drop 2 in a row. So they took care of their first win. Maybe now we can be their loss. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, just the thing that concerns me is that like Clemson, I don't love what they have. I think Antonio Williams is a good wide receiver. I don't know if they have anyone outside of him. Phil Maffa is a bruising running back. Like he is gonna get some yards against this Pitt front. But the Clemson defensive front is still the Clemson defensive front. They were harassing both Virginia Tech quarterbacks last Saturday, and with the state of this O-line, I'm concerned for whoever is playing behind the center this Saturday. Is there a world where we can win? Yeah, sure. I will always believe in this team. I mean, even when we were down this game, I thought, yeah, we can still pull this out. It's a lot harder against Clemson. They're just a much better team than Virginia, and you really maybe once we get out of the 8:00 time slot, the stink wears off. Maybe that's what I can give you.
Clemson confirmed better team than Virginia.
I would say so.
Yeah, I'm going to be the negative Nancy about this game. I fear we are in for a very, very rough Saturday.
I think
Clemson only 10-point favorites. I would have picked a bigger line myself. Yeah, I agree.
See, I think that line is pretty, relatively small, because the Pitt defense can probably hang with the Clemson offense. They have a couple
No,
good players. I don't know if they're that great overall. Cade Klubnik kind of has bozo brain. Um, my concern is that I don't know if the offense is going to be able to do much outside of like accidental explosives against this Clemson team because if the O line is inconsistent again, which they're probably going to have a lot of bad plays against Clemson. Let's be real; they have a ton of talent up front, and you just cannot be missing throws and you cannot be dropping throws. Like when they're open, you got to hit them. When you're open, you got to catch it. Really, I don't know how effective the ground game is going to be in this game. You really just have to make the most out of any opportunities you have in the passing game to have a chance. Maybe fucking get 5 interceptions again. That could work. But we got 2 picks in this game, and we only turned it into 3 points. Granted, one of them was on our own like 2-yard line, so whatever. But
yeah, I agree with you. I think the defense can hang, but only for us. You can only hang with the team so much if your offense is not going to give you anything or sustain drives. They're going to be on the field. If the offense plays anything like they played the last 4 weeks, realistically, the defense is going to get worn down. I think they hang with them at the beginning, and then the breaks are just going to fall off because the offense is going to continue to not sustain drives. Junko might have a 25-yard punt here and there, and they might have some ugly turnovers depending on who's behind center. You can't have picks like the 2 that Yarnell threw. It's just gonna, your defense is gonna give up if your offense doesn't give you any sort of hope on the defensive side.
yeah, I mean, if it's Nate playing, I think if he's got the full week of practice, get ready. I don't think he's going to look nearly as bad as he did in the second half against Virginia. That is just a preparation thing. It's your backup QB going in cold. It is what it is. While I'd like to have Eli, if he's hurt, straight up, if Eli is still hurt going into Clemson, just don't play him. I think don't ruin his confidence. Don't put him in a bad situation with this Clemson front. If he's hurt, if he's not 100%, I don't think he's the better option this week at quarterback. And I know Nate's coming off a horrible game, but if he's still missing throws like this, is it any better than what you're getting with your QB2? And should you protect your QB1? Am I overreacting here? Am I being a moron?
I see where you're coming from. Let me say that. But I'm also going to say if Holstein's ready to go, like truly, he should still be the one that's in the game here.
No,
I understand not putting him in a bad spot. From what I saw on Saturday, he gives us the best chance to win by far. And
I'm saying if he's not like 100%, like if he's hobbled, like if he's ready to go,
I don't know.
Yeah,
even if it's not a head injury, if it's not a head thing that kept him out, if he's ready to go there and he's anywhere north of 85, I think he has to go because you said it, Zach. Like run game is going to be something that if we have Yarnell back under center, like the quarterback, a lot of times Holstein's our leading rusher, and
yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the case with Yarnell. So if we bring that element in, it helps us bring some duality to our offense. I think we have to have it. I think that's the key to keeping this thing within reach and hoping that what it's going to come down to is I think you're right. The defense can keep us in it. If the offense just kind of weathers the storm and we don't have any dumb plays, we can get it to a point where maybe something happens on special teams or even the defense makes a big play that kind of turns the tide. But we're going to need a little bit of Pittsburgh magic.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, I would agree with that, Mace. I think if he's actually good, if he's actually healthy, like, yeah, I would say 80, 85% at least. And he's not going to have permanent brain damage
Yeah.
by continuing to put himself out there. I would prefer to have him play. The rushing element is a big part of it. You're going to need as much help as you can get against this Clemson defense. So, if you want any chance in this one, so I would agree.
Ugh. I think there's a path. I don't want to be a total doomer. There's a path. We just talked about it. It is narrow, and it would require this team reversing all the trends that has been setting since the Cal game. But to close out the football talk, sort of on a take a couple steps back here. Me and Mason are talking about this pre-show off air. At this point last year, the team was 2-7, coming off two brutal losses to Notre Dame and Florida State. At the beginning of the year, I said this team has a path to a bowl. I was unsure about that. I think that this team has, quite honestly, met all of our expectations for this year and probably surpassed a lot of them. Now, does it suck that they went 7-0 to start and then lost two straight when the games became important? Yes. But you beat West Virginia, you beat Cincinnati, and honestly, we're sitting at 7-2. There's a realistic universe where this team is 4-5 if they don't get those one score wins over Dub V, Cincinnati, and Cal. And yeah, it hurts. Yeah, it sucks because the team gave us a ton of reason to believe. But, take a step back. This team is still good. A lot of pieces come back. Like, this is a young team. This is a rebuilding team. And they still are locked in for some sort of postseason play.
Very true. Good positive outlook.
Well said, Zach. Well said. It can be tough because obviously the expectations do change as you get to 7-0. But it is good to have the bigger picture and take a step back. So,
well, just go out there and do it. Do it for the seniors. Do it for the fans. We will be in attendance cheering on the boys. And win or lose, I will be stumbling around the North Shore this Saturday.
Damn straight.
I'll be real with you guys. I did not prep the weekend look ahead. I don't know if there are any big games, and quite frankly, I don't know how many of them I'll be watching because I'll be in the stadium and in the in the lots tailgating there. Are there any real important games this weekend?
Tennessee, Georgia is kind of like, honestly, that might be the only other ranked matchup.
Low-key playoff elimination game?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's kind of like a bigger game for Tennessee than Georgia now at this point with their loss last week. But I think that's probably the main one. I'm looking through now. That is the only other ranked matchup this week. So
I think that, like, if you're looking in terms of like playoff picture, Missouri at South Carolina at 4:15 is another sort of elimination game for Missouri. I think they got by Oklahoma by the skin of their ass last week. South Carolina is not that good, but they're kind of frisky, and they could sort of ruin Missouri's season there. I'm just trying to figure out how many SEC teams I can get out of the playoff at this point. I don't want 4 or 5 SEC teams. I think the league kind of sucks. None of the teams are that good, relative to the SEC's past, and they're letting off a lot of bias in terms of that league. I mean, Iowa State has a chance to lose their third straight game at 8:00 against Cincinnati. The only other one I see is that BYU could step on the Kansas landmine again because Iowa State just did that last week. They lost to a 2-6 Kansas team, and
BYU
BYU
just
has crazy ass
they
devil
just keep
magic.
winning. They just keep winning. I don't understand it. There was another game-winning field goal this past weekend, right?
Well, they probably should have lost that game, but they got a phantom holding call on like 4th and 10 to keep that drive alive. So realistically, like the Utah AD had a press conference after that game, just yelling at the refs, calling them a disgrace to the Big 12 conference. So I mean that's a fucking real ass rivalry, but they probably should have lost last week. We'll see what happens. I mean, a lot of teams going down lately. Um,
Is Colorado going to be a top 4 playoff team?
Ooh, that is concerning because I thought they were going to lose to Texas Tech, and then they ended up boat racing them.
Even
The
with
thing with
tortillas on
Colorado,
the field, they still won.
dude, the thing with Colorado is that I don't see a loss for them in the regular season. They've got Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State left. I believe that they are second in the Big 12 alone. Yeah, yeah. No, if they win their games, they're guaranteed a spot in the conference title because BYU is obviously undefeated, but Iowa State, Kansas State, Arizona State, and West Virginia all have 2 losses in the conference.
And then if they win
So,
that, then they're going to be having a bye and a top 4 seed in the college football playoff, which would be crazy.
well, hopefully they just don't jump Boise, and then Boise gets a top 4 seed in the playoff.
That's true. Yeah, if
Because Boise's like
Boise's one
11
of
or
the
12,
top
right?
4, then Colorado would still get a bid, but they wouldn't get the bye. So
That's
Yeah.
actually crazy that we could potentially have a group of 5 team as one of the buys.
I mean, right now Boise is 12. If BYU loses, does not win the conference, I don't see why. I mean, maybe they'll just. I mean, listen, the playoff committee does whatever they want. They would find a way to get Colorado up into, one spot over Boise, but because
yeah,
they're
that would
evil.
be my fear as well. But um, we shall see.
All right, that's enough football. Kent, Mason, I'll turn it over to you guys. Let's talk hoops. We're playing tonight against who is it? VMI, I think, right?
Nah,
No,
we play
Gardner
Gardner
Webb
Webb
tonight.
tonight.
Yeah.
Gardner Webb. So
That
hit me
game
with the
starts in about
recap
20
of the first
minutes.
week.
Yeah, happy to provide an update here for a team that is still undefeated. Um, we are Pitt basketball 2-0 this week. Wins against Radford and then Murray State. Mace, I don't know how you want to go over these. I guess we can just start with Radford.
Yeah, I mean that was our typical taking care of business game. Um, watched most of it. I don't have any super glaring takeaways. I think kind of what we thought preseason is what happened in that game. Very dominant performance from our backcourt and Ish and Jalen Lowe putting up really good performances. Seems like Damian Dunn's going to have even more of a role than we thought. He had a pretty good outing. Um, Other than that, I don't really have any crazy notes of anything that jumped off the page at me. Still a little too
Yeah,
early to tell.
yeah. That game, yeah, it was a little bit of a slow start. They end up going on a run to go up by 18 at halftime of that one. End up winning by 40 points. Easily covered the original spread of I think it was like 21. But yeah, Cam Corrin had 12 and 5. Guillermo Diaz Graham had 10 and 9. Ish Liggett had 19 and 12. Jalen Lowe had 21, 5 and 6. Damian Dunn 11 points. Brandon Cummings 11 points. So yeah, you had 6 different Panthers in double digits in that game. So really well-rounded scoring. Then Murray State, that's a better team than Radford. The spread was a lot smaller. Pitt ends up covering again in that one. Murray State's supposed to. I took a look at the preseason poll. They're projected. They were third in their preseason poll in the conference, so not a bad team. And yeah, Pitt takes care of business again, wins by 15. They were only up by 2 at halftime. It seems like, they've been a second half team kind of through 2 games. It kind of seemed that way in the scrimmages as well, based on notes that we saw from reporters. They didn't have a big lead in those scrimmages, and then really put pedal to the gas in the second half.
Yeah, I think Murray State casuals might not look at that as a big win, but whenever you play somebody in non-conference that has a good possibility of winning their league, I think Murray State does, that has potential to be a big one down the road when it comes tournament time and we look at non-con games. So that was a good get. I didn't catch a lot of that one. Saw the box score, and yeah, excited to. Offense is looking pretty dynamic, and that's even before Deliac's kind of back. So he'll add a whole nother wrinkle to things here. I guess I don't know if he's playing tonight. Yeah, is he playing tonight?
He's playing tonight. So yeah, that's gonna be a really exciting addition to an already pretty potent offense. We talked about it in the preview, but this team can hit you a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different weapons and guys who can score on this team. So far, the transfers have looked great. You mentioned Damian Dunn. He finished with 19 points against Murray State. He's been really good and really efficient. He even started this game. So they went with a little bit of a different lineup in game 2. Started with Dunn. And I want to say who came off the bench. Zach Austin came off the bench, actually. But
yeah,
Zach Austin, go ahead.
He's going to be a pretty much the 6-man 3-and-D, and I know we haven't seen a lot of him offensively. Probably just a testament to all the other pieces that we have, but I feel like he's going to be kind of guarding. Yeah. He's always just going to guard the other team's best player and kind of be that shutdown guy.
Yeah, he's gonna have a pretty. He's gonna have a different role on this team. We're not gonna have to rely on him to score maybe as much as he shot last year. He only finished with 2 points against Murray State, but had 8 rebounds and 5 blocks. Like, he had a pretty good game, but a lot of people just look at the points. They don't, if you're not watching the game, he's a pretty big impact player. But yeah, Jalen Lowe, great start to the season, 20 points again in game 2. John Rothstein even tweeted out give him a shout out on Twitter today, just for his hot start and how good he's looked. Really efficient. And yeah, great start to the season for Jalen Lowe.
It's a little bit early to talk about being ranked. Just because similarly to football, those preseason expectations kind of factor in until you get a little bit closer to conference play. But I will say the computers are liking us. We jumped up to being ranked 25th in KenPom after beating Murray State. So things trending in the right direction. I think we keep doing that. We're only probably a couple wins away from at least receiving some votes and starting to make some noise in that AP poll as well.
Yeah. Another person I want to shout out. I mean, we talked about the transfers, but Cam Corns had a great start. He had a double-double in game 2, 13 and 10, 2 assists as well. So he's been a great addition through 2 games. I just think this team has a lot of really good pieces. Brandon Cummings is honestly, he's not getting a lot of minutes, but he's got a really sweet shot. I think he's going to have some big buckets in some important games for us down the line. It is also just great to know that even if guys get in foul trouble, things like that in important games this year, we've seen the Panthers just lack of depth in years past where foul trouble really hurts them. But this year you have a little bit more room for that kind of stuff because there's guys that can step into their place and be just as efficient. So I'm really liking what I've seen so far through 2 games. Gardner-Webb is not a great team, but hopefully the boys can come out, look good again tonight, get the dub. We'll see how. Yeah, you mentioned. We got to remember how to say his name. Delalich.
Delalich?
Delalich.
You can say a name however you want.
We'll have to get that down. But I'm excited to see him. He's going to be our biggest 3-point threat. We have some good 3-point shooters outside of him, but if you look at his percentages from other leagues, I'm excited to see him shoot the 3 ball. So
You mentioned Brandon Cummings. I did want to bring him up. Not only does he have a really sweet shot, and I just got the highlights, but he seems to have really, really good court vision. Like, he's had some like open shots and passed them up for better ones. That pass to Guillermo for the dunk was awesome. And what Damian Dunn reminds me of a lot is sort of a little bit of Jamarius Burton. Maybe it's the hair, maybe it's the fact that he looks like he's 35. He looks like what were those ads that Kyrie used to do where he had the giant beard on his face?
Uncle Drew.
Uncle Drew. He reminds you a little bit of Uncle Drew with facial hair, but he just reminds me of Jamarius Burton in the game he plays, sort of that mid-range game. Excited to see more of him moving forward. And I think instead of trying to butcher Amsel's name, we should just call him number 52 until we're confident in our pronunciation.
Or we definitely, it's a nicknameable, like, we'll have to think of a nickname for him.
we'll give him our own simplified nickname.
Yeah. Like Joker.
Well, we're gonna start the Twitter nickname and it's gonna go everywhere for him. So
Let's just call him Deli for now. Just call him Deli.
The Deli boy.
Okay. Deli, I like that.
I like Deli. All right, we'll think on it.
One other thing of basketball news today, on the recruiting trail. Today is the day that Malik Thomas, top 10 recruit, he released his final 3, I think, last week, and it was us, Arkansas, and UConn, who I believe UConn said that they were kind of done recruiting him, so it's really kind of us and Arkansas. He's supposed to commit today. I haven't seen anything about it, so by the time you're listening to this podcast, he may have been committed somewhere.
I think he's supposed to go to Arkansas.
Yeah,
I don't know if you follow Trilly Donovan on Twitter, but he posted a GIF of Calipari this morning. So that's kind of been the rumor in the news. Listen, you get into a top 10 recruits final 3. It's a win for the program. It's been. Do they even have any people in the recruiting class yet? I don't even know.
It's a good question. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but
I don't know.
I'm gonna Google.
But yeah, just a big win that even if he's not coming to Pittsburgh, to have the I don't know if he's going to do the hat commitment or what, but to have Pitt on all those graphics and all that stuff is probably is good publicity for us.
I'm seeing he is announcing at 8:15 p.m. So we shall see. That would be a huge get, obviously.
Dude, fuck Arkansas. Who?
It's Calipari, baby.
I know,
It's
and it's
Cal,
NIL.
Pittsburgh guy.
It's NIL. I feel like probably if we could have matched what Arkansas was giving him, he would have stayed home. But that's just never going to be the case. So
We'll see. I keep the hope. That'll be a huge get, obviously, and we'll see. We can follow up with that. We'll be tweeting about it one way or another here in an hour and a half. Let's see.
I mean, the only other note on basketball is first test is this Friday against West Virginia.
Yep.
Yeah. You mentioned it earlier, Mace. No AP poll votes yet, but Cincinnati is now number 17 in the AP poll. Pitt beat them by 9 points in a secret scrimmage, so that's a good look on us, even though it's not officially counting toward any ranking standings. Just good to note for Panther fans out there. And then, first Power 4 conference opponent at the Pitt on Friday. So it'll be interesting to see how that correlates with the crowd that's going to be on hand for the volleyball match on Friday.
Volleyball's earlier in the evening. I think they're a 5:00 match.
Oh,
and
so
then
you can go to both.
Yeah,
You can go to both.
At 8. You could.
That works. Sweet. So yeah, hopefully we can go 2-0 in the backyard brawl this fall. That'd be awesome.
Hell yeah. Anything else?
Just want to give a shout out before Monday Night Football starts here. They talked about it on Part of My Take. Every single college football team in the state of Florida and every NFL team who has played so far has lost this week. If the Dolphins lose tonight, it could be the first time that the entire state of Florida hasn't won a football game. So just a little fun stat.
I'll play off that.
I love
Georgia
that.
Tech was the only team in Georgia above the at the Division I or higher level to win this week.
I like that.
So
Probably doesn't happen too often.
No, shout out to the Yellow Jackets. Thank you for finally slaying the beast. And if you see us in Pittsburgh, come say hi. That'll do it for this week. Thank you for tuning in to Simplified Podcast once again. Follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and we'll see you next week.
Hail to Pitt.
Beat the Tigers.